This is Malibu on training day 29. This will be the first time that I'm introducing her to the Western saddle. I've already introduced her to a bareback pad earlier today, as well as cinch pressure with my rope, and those are in 2 other videos that have been uploaded to the website. So here I have just a very lightweight child saddle. It is leather, it has a good tree. I've removed the cinch, and so I only have the latigo on it. I'm going to ask her to come forward. I don't like to do a lot of work up against the panel. And then I'll try to position her for the camera. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of see what she thinks about it. So far she hasn't snorted at all. She hasn't looked at it funny. She hasn't leaned back like she normally does when she's scared. So I'm going to read her body language and kind of judge how far I can go. There, she jumped a little bit. I'm going to bring the saddle up so she can see it higher, so she can see it swinging at her. I'm going to brush her with it, and then I'll finally put it on her back. And I'll just use repetition. The whole idea here is just to see what she thinks about having the saddle on. She seems fairly comfortable with it. Just flap the stirrups a little bit. I'm always keeping a hand on the horn. If she were to bolt or move forward, I'd want to pull the saddle off of her. I don't want her to drop it. That might spook her and give her a bad experience. Give her a minute to think, and then I'll reapproach. I'm not using a saddle blanket or anything right here because I don't plan on attaching the saddle. I just want her to kind of be able to check it out. Now her right side she's more protective of. It kind of goes through the same process, raising it up, and there she got worried and she did that bowing back that she does when she's not comfortable. Just go a little bit slower and kind of introduce it in steps. You can see she's still not sure, so I'll ask her to use approach and retreat, or I'll ask her to come towards me, get her kind of unstuck. Sometimes they'll lock up in a particular spot, and then just stand there till they blow up, and I don't want that to happen. And here she's a lot more relaxed now. Let me put the saddle on. Pop the stirrup. And I'm pretty happy with this, so the next step will be to go ahead and see about cinching her up. So next we're going to put the saddle pad on, the saddle blanket, and she's very comfortable with this, so I'm not even worried about it. And then I'm going to make sure that my camera's recording. I've had one too many instances where I thought I was recording and I wasn't. So I've already put the cinch on the saddle, and I'm going to go ahead and saddle her from her offside so I don't have to worry about that cinch dropping down and spooking her or scaring her. Only thing I should have done differently here for safety's sake is I should have had that lead rope draped over my right elbow. Even if I didn't have my hands on it, I should have had a hold of her face in case she were to bolt. I could pull her towards me instead of her bolting straight forward and maybe kicking out and nailing me. I had to adjust my cinch there. It was too long. Pull her forward, keep her away from that panel again. Reach under and I'll grab the cinch, keeping a hold of my lead line. I'm going to go ahead and loop the latigo through one time, and then I'm going to just pull up on it to apply some pressure. Now, if she were to have reacted negatively here or unsure or anything like that, I would have stopped with the saddle and went back to either my rope or my bareback pad. If she's going to be unconfident about cinching, then I need to go back to something that could create less of a problem. I don't need her scared about the cinch and scared about the saddle. So I would go back to the bareback pad or go back to a line around her belly. Here she got a little tense and nervous, so I dropped the cinch. There's a horse up in front of the property that she got a little worried about, and I need her focus on me if I'm going to be cinching her up. So just reassure her, and then once I think she's not worried anymore, I'm going to go ahead and reach under and do it again. There's no law that says you can't quit at a certain point, and if I had wanted to quit right here before I even cinched her up, that would have been just fine. The only thing I really try to do is on any one day end on a good note. Now that I'm going to go ahead and cinch her up, one thing I am going to make sure to do is cinch her up plumb. I want to make sure that that cinch is nice and tight and that saddle's secure and it's not going to shift or move or flop to the side, because I don't know what she's going to do. Most horses are going to buck or bolt, and I don't need her to get a bad experience by having that saddle flip underneath her belly or slide back or something like that. I'll try and step away from her pretty quick and then start moving her around. Now, she did have a lesson on lunging before I even got started with the saddle today, but I should have done some more preparation work. You'll see here I kind of have to fight her for moving her front end away from me, and for lunging she wants to keep turning her disengaging her hind end to look at me. And there's two reasons behind that. One is this horse has been taught that when she's worried or when she's not sure, that a pretty good guess for the right answer is to look at me. And the other thing is I could have done some more prep work. One thing I try real hard not to do is stand in front of her. Here, the saddle I could see was a little bit loose. As she moved around, she probably exhaled and loosened that cinch a little bit, so I'm going to tighten her up. And then I'm going to ask her to move again. One of the big things I want to do is keep her back off me. The farther she is from me, the better at this point, because I can't be sure that she won't blow up. I don't need her up next to me. There she trotted around for the first time. You can see her snort and lick her lips. She's like, oh my goodness, what was that? Probably feeling those stirrups banging against her side just a little bit, and she realizes that saddle's attached to her, and she's got pressure around her belly. And I'm getting kind of aggressive with the rope because I need her to move her front end. She's not listening. Thing is I kept asking her to move her front end, and she kept getting the wrong answer. And one of the things I hate to do is discourage a horse. And so I threw the rope over her neck and her saddle just then, because she knows the right answer for that is to stand still. And then I'll go back to asking her to move in her body again. I gave her a chance to be right, even if it was just for a moment. And there you can see her disengaging her forehand, which she knows very well as well. Disengaging her hind end. And here she gets real upset. At first I try to hang on to her, but when she started coming towards me just then, and I realized she was no longer watching me, I got out of the pen. She bucks for about 30 seconds here, and she crashed into the pen a couple times. She's fine. She scraped a little bit of hair off her face and off of one of her knees, but she's absolutely fine. She has no lacerations, no cuts. My panels are smooth, round pipe. There's no bolts or anything in her pen that she can snag on. She stopped, and she's got that left front foot over the lead line, so I'm going to ask her to move forward. She gets to bucking again. I don't have any control over her, so I'm going to get out of her way. I have no way. If I had the lead rope at that point, she was okay to where I had to try to tip her nose in. But she wasn't. She stops and licks her lips. And I'm going to walk around to her left, which is where that lead rope is. It's now in a really good spot for me to grab it. Once I get a hold of this lead rope, I'm going to go ahead and start asking her to move again. I'm trying to ask her to lunge around, yield her forehand, and she's confused. She thinks I want her to side pass. So again, that's something that prep work would have fixed. Some more prep work with her. She kept getting the wrong answer there, so I went back to something that she knew what the right answer is. She knows the right answer is to stand still when I'm flipping this line over her back. Lead her forward, up away from that panel. And ask again. She was just getting confused, so I went to something else. Here I'm popping the stirrup. Letting her sit and think. She's still breathing hard. Just kind of rubbing on her, letting her know things are alright. Here I'm asking her to move her front end. And she always says this, she wants to walk towards me when I'm asking her to yield that front end to the right. And again, that's something that I should have fixed with prep work before I asked her to do it again with the saddle on. So I'm going to go to flipping the line over her back. I really use these videos, as well as I take mental notes when I'm out there working the horses as far as what I skipped, what I should have done better, things like that. As far as realizing where I maybe took a shortcut or overlooked something. Here I'm asking her to drop her head in response to a little bit of pull pressure. Then I'm going to go ahead and uncinch her. I always try to end with review, something that she's really comfortable with, something that she knows what to expect, she knows what's going to happen. I find that they really get a lot calmer, especially that she just had, a little bit of excitement there with the saddle. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the line over her back and around her legs. This is old hat to hurt, doesn't even bother her. She's not concerned with it. So overall, just reflecting on this lesson, it was her third lesson for the day. A couple of things that I could have done better was better prep work, as far as teaching her to lunge around better, get a better understanding of yielding her forehand, especially to the right, instead of coming into me. The saddling part, almost all of my horses have bucked. I think I've only had one that didn't. As far as the ones that I've gotten that were completely wild or had never been, that I know had never been saddled before, because even my domestic horses buck with the saddle. Here I'm reviewing the plastic bag. We introduced this to her yesterday, and she had absolutely no issue with it. Her reaction yesterday, for the first time, was the same as it is today. It's one of the things I'm really getting to like about this mare, is she's pretty level-headed. But as far as the saddling goes, I thought about not showing it, but really, that's what happens. I mean, she's a green horse. She'd never been saddled before. I don't think it matters at all that she's a Mustang. Just some horses are gonna buck, and some aren't. Maybe a round pen would have helped her. Maybe a little bit more room would have helped her. I don't know. I saddle all of mine for the first time in my square pens. But she didn't get hurt, and I didn't get hurt. And I think that's what matters. And so, I'll take some time and do some more prep work with her, and then hopefully next time I saddle her, I'll be in a better position to ask her to move off away from me, and she may buck again still. And that's alright. We're just going to be consistent and keep working with her until she's comfortable and confident. And when she's confident with the saddle, wearing the saddle, we can start thinking about getting on her, but certainly not until then.